Yes, sir. Which teams will be headed for a heartbreak, man, as we have begun the postseason in Major League Baseball? Welcome back to the second segment of the hashtag Brothers of Baseball show, right here on the Big Game Christian Sports Network and featured on the Sports Empire Network. We are live. Thank you guys for out there for checking us out on Facebook through the Sports Empire Network's page, through the Shakeback Media Group Facebook page, through the BGC Sports Network's Facebook page, through the Sports Empire Network's YouTube channel, through the Shakeback Media Group's YouTube channel, through the Shakeback Media Group Twitter feed, and Shakeback Media Group on Instagram TV. That's a lot of ands out there, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm very excited to be partnered with those guys. I mean, we came to an agreement, and it is on from here on in. Welcome to the second segment of the hashtag Brothers of Baseball show. Just in case you missed it in the second segment, yes, we did talk about, you know what? Aaron Judge. He is the all-time home run king for a single season in the American League. Many people are trying to say that he's the home run leader of all time. No, we're not doing that. He is the all-time home run leader in single season MLB history and for the American League, as well as for the New York Yankees. So we are going to give him the due for just that. Okay, we also talked about Albert Pujols. We're going to finish up with him in just a second. Before we move any further, though, this second segment, it is being brought to you by Amber Knight. Like a good neighbor, Amber Knight of State Farm Insurance. She is there. There for what? There to provide you personalized, simple, and caring services with the insurance and financial services the people of our Marco Malone not only need, but they deserve. Contact Amber today at 580-223-0391. Once again, 580-223-0391. When you want the real deal, call Amber Knight today, tonight, or tomorrow, or whenever you can, so you can get your insurance and financial needs serviced, and tell her that your boy from the Shakeback Media Group, the hashtag Brothers of Baseball, the BGC Sports Network, and also, yes, all of that for your needs, insurance, financial services, or otherwise, to set it off on that. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna finish up with Albert Pujols once again. He eclipses the 700 home run mark. He is now an exclusive company with only 3 other players in the history of this great game. Congratulations to him. As I said, I am clamoring for him to come back for next season so he can pass the babe. I haven't heard any indication whatsoever that that's going to take place, and I'm kind of miffed and I'm kind of sad, but I understand at the same time. But again, as I said in the last segment, there's a chance that Albert Pujols could set some history, particularly if the Cardinals are able to get to the World Series and win it. Now, we're going to get to the predictions here, or the preview and the predictions a little bit later, but think about it from this standpoint, ladies and gentlemen. If Albert Pujols were to win the World Series this year, that will be his second time winning a championship, second time with the Cardinals. If he comes back next year, and that team is going to look different, I know that. There's a good chance that Yadier Molina's not going to be there. There's a good chance that Adam Wainwright's not going to be there. But I'm just saying from a fandom standpoint, say, for instance, that he does come back and eclipses the babe, and then the Cardinals make a run for yet another World Series run or championship. Can you say at that point that this dude might be like the top 5 in the history of the game? I don't know, but that's just me wishful thinking, I'm sure. So that's just what that is on that standpoint. And then again, it's so funny because I don't know if anybody out there is ready for Albert to hang him up, especially if they go out on top. How many players have we seen, not just in baseball, but in the history of sports, really go out on top in terms of winning the championship in their final game and then riding off into the sunset? Who did that? Let's see. There was John Elway and there was Ray Lewis. Those are the only 2 that I can think of off the top of my head that actually has done that. So for Aaron Judge and for Albert Pujols, we give you this. All right, so let's move on to these predictions. Big Day, I need you to throw in some kind of music here because this is about to get real. And we're going to start off in the American League and kind of break down where the teams are, how they got here, and so forth and so on. If you haven't known by now, good, because I'm going to tell you again. All right, so let's start in the American League. I'm going to start there because the Oakland A's, my favorite team, aren't anywhere close to being in the postseason. As a matter of fact, the Oakland A's lost 103 games this year. So that's just what that is. Okay. So the Major League Playoffs, the American League, the first round buys, and of course, this is a new format. An extra team from each league is in. So what that meant was the top 2 seeds get a bye. And in this case, it's the Houston Astros, the champions of the American League West, and the New York Yankees of the American League East. The Astros went 106-56, while the Yankees went 99-63. And but for a somewhat of a summer plunge there in August and July after the All-Star break, if you remember, let me just take you back for just a second, because when the Yankees or when Major League Baseball came out of the All-Star break, the Yankees went to Houston to play a 2-game set out there. At that point in time, they were the number 1 seed, and rightly so. But they go out there and they get swept in a home series down in H-Town, and then it just seemed like it unraveled from there. But be that as it may, and I even was on the Yankees' backs, if you will, because, look, I was thinking that the Yankees were going to be on the verge of probably one of the most epic collapses in all of sports history, because they had a lead at one point of, I want to say it was 12 and a half games. And they got all the way down to 5. All the way down to 5 or 5.5 or whatever it was. But it was close enough. It had become close enough to where I was thinking like, yo, if this happens, I'm going to be happy, but I'm going to be unhappy at the same time, because y'all know my boys, Jose Trevino and Colin Thoreau, are a big part of the Yankee organization. Of course, Jose being an all-star participant this year for the first time in his career. It won't be the last. And then Colin Thoreau is doing his thing as being part of the management, their on-field management. So, you know, I'm rooting for those guys, if nothing else. But that's just what that is. So the Yankees, the Astros, they are your 2 top seeds in the American League. So we're going to go ahead and go to the wild card rounds, and we're going to start here. The Tampa Bay Rays going to the Cleveland Guardians for a 3-game set. Now, remember, the higher seed gets all 3 games at their park, and it's a 3-game set, and it's really like an extension of the regular season, if you ask me. So all 3 games will be in Cleveland. All these games will have kicked off on Friday by the time the show airs, and into the weekend, we'll be deep into where we are at that point in terms of who's going to be advancing to the next round. So let's start with Tampa Bay and Cleveland. Okay, Cleveland took the season series from the Rays 4-2. Here's the deal. Tampa Bay has been really consistent all year round. Cleveland really just started putting it together after the All-Star break, and rightly so, because that pitching staff, that starting rotation of not Savali, because he ain't done jack, Tristan Thompson and Shane Bieber, for the most part, have carried that team in the second half of the year. So Minnesota was lead, and Minnesota had an epic collapse. But for the Rays, they've been that consistent all year round, and they have been bit by the injury bug, just like the Guardians have been. But here's the thing. Here's what's funny about this particular series as it proceeded out throughout the year. They did take 4-6, like I said just a minute ago. This is crazy. In this time, look, neither team scored more than 6 runs in a game. The largest margin of victory was 3 runs. And the last 3 games, all in Cleveland, guess what? They all were 1-run contests. Now, those last 3 games, this was just a couple weeks ago. Just a couple weeks ago. You could say that neither team really had much to play for, but I disagree because the Rays were still, well, no, they had to continue to hold off Toronto and Seattle. So they had plenty to play for in that instance. So these games, to me, I think the Rays have a better overall team, but Cleveland was way hotter towards the end of the year than the Rays were. And they're going to carry this momentum into forgive me, Cleveland. It's not the Jake. Progressive Field. They're going to have Progressive Field packed, jacked, and on fire. And Baker Mayfield will not be doing Progressive commercials anymore. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys who I think is going to win that series in the third segment. I think we got some social media comments. Let's see what we got here. Chris Hackney, thank you for chiming in, my brother. He says Blue Jays shocking the AL. Young men take over. Vlad and Bo got them boys ready. Yeah, I was a little disappointed because I actually chose the Blue Jays to win the American League East, but here they are. They actually did. They made it. I shouldn't say they made it close, but to me, they actually underachieved with all of the talent that they have, and then with the acquisitions that they made during the off season. Then we also have Chris Hackney again saying flashbacks of the 1993 Phillies Jays World Series, and of course that was the year before MLB went on strike, which caused a whole lot of disgruntledness amongst us fans. And and then that's when Joe Carter hit the home run to beat the Phillies in Game 6 up in Toronto. I think it was the Sky Dome back then. Wild thing. Mitch Williams gave up the home run. Okay, so let's get back to these. Let's get back to the playoff talk. Okay, so Seattle and Toronto, 3-game set. All these games will be in Toronto. The Mariners. Look, the Mariners are quietly, by many people's estimation, going to be the favorite in this series. They took 5 out of 7 from the Blue Jays, including a 4-game sweep back in the Pacific Northwest in July. And it was really not even that close. And Seattle, that rookie, Julio Rodriguez, is the man. So he set records, or he actually etched himself in the rookie record book in terms of being able to steal 25 bases and hit 25 home runs. But not only that, they've got great pitching. They've got other superstars or young superstars around Rodriguez, and Mitch Haniger, again, continues to be one of those players that is just out there raking that nobody really ever talks about. My main man, Mike Martinez, the big Rican on sports. Yeah, I see you watching, man. I will see you later on your show. That's going to be dope as well. We always talk about Mitch Haniger and how he is the best baseball player that nobody ever really talks about. So look out for Seattle. I don't think the home field advantage is going to matter much for either one of these teams. They're both pretty young. Toronto probably, where they really do have a bit of an advantage because they do have a little bit more experience from being in the playoffs during the during the pandemic year of 2020, of which I think they actually got beat by Tampa Bay in the first round of that series as well. So those are the wild cards from the American League. So let's swing to the National League because, again, top 2 get buys. This case would be the Los Angeles Dodgers, who had a record of 111-51. You heard me right. 111-51. And then, I'm sorry, Mike, I got to say this, but because it's the truth. The Atlanta Braves, your National League East champs for the 6th straight year, I want to say it is. They finished with a record of 101-61. So they overtook the Mets. Oh my gosh, the Mets. That last series in Atlanta wasn't even close. And so let me get off of that. So yeah, you have the Mets. Speaking of the Mets, they would be home or hosting rather the San Diego Padres for a 3-game set in the Big Y, or in the NY, the Big Apple, there at Citi Field. And you can say what you want about the Padres. The Padres, to me, they underachieved a little bit as well, but they didn't have arguably their best player the entire year before he actually got suspended for BED usage, and now he's not even now he's not even around. They did make a deal at the deadline to get the closer from Milwaukee, Josh Hader, and Josh Hader in San Diego is not the Josh Hader in his early days in Milwaukee, but he's more than serviceable. Look, the Padres took 4 out of 6 from the Mets this year, 2 out of 3 in both places. So let me put it this way, as we got about 2 and 3 minutes left to go in this segment. DeGrom was not there, he was not available for much of or any of these games. So Starling Marte is out. He may not be available into the divisional series if he's able to get there. We know what San Diego is in terms of their offense, and they have a couple of really good pitchers in Musgrove and Yu Darvish. DeGrom, Scherzer, Bassett. I'm thinking, and Mike, if you're still watching, you can comment on whether or not these 3 guys are going to get the pill on the bump in these 3 games. They're going to need that because they threw out there DeGrom, Bassett, and Scherzer against the Braves in the series over the past weekend, and they all got beat. Every single one of them got beat, and that's what irks me or concerns me a great deal, because they have played so well. You're right. Let me throw this up here. Chris Hackney, once again, thank you, man. Talk over looked hitters Mark Canha being hitting for years. Yeah, I mean, I'm very familiar with Mark Canha. I mean, he was an A. That's right. And I'm an A's fan, so I know how good that dude is. But the Mets and the Padres, if those 3 horses, and even if you throw in Walker and even Carrasco, who has had a marvelous season, if he does not win comeback player of the year, there's going to be an issue for me. But if DeGrom and or Bassett and or Scherzer go out there and perform the way that they did against the Braves in that series in Atlanta, this is going to be like one of the most disappointing years ever if you're a Mets fan, because it's not because they collapsed. It's just because the Braves played so well, but now they're here. They still get these games at home in Flushing Meadow, and they have to, no pun intended, step up to the plate and do their thing, which to me, they have a better overall team than the Padres. But the Padres, as we said, they did take 4 out of 6 from the Mets this past year. Thank you guys out there once again for checking us out on all of the live social media platforms. We got to get out of here for the 3rd segment. Come on back on the other side. We're going to finish up these wild card talks or wild card round talks, and then we're going to predict what's going to happen. Maybe get to a little bit of back in the day. Hashtag Brothers of Baseball. Dopest engineer in the game. Big day. Y'all come on back and holler at us.